Let's make this year your best real estate investing year ever by coming to the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. And the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference is where you can join hundreds of real estate investors and over 40 plus expert investor speakers and learn how to have amazing success in your real estate investing business. The Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference is not like any other conference out there. This is a no sales pitch conference where the entire 3-day event is all about you and helping you meet expert investors, teaching you how to invest, and join a community of hundreds of like-minded real estate investors. And because you're part of the Master Passive Income podcast, I'm giving you 20% off your Rubicon Pass. That's right. Get 20% off your Rubicon Pass by using the promo code MPI20. MPI20. You need to be at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. Join us in the heart of downtown St. Louis, April 10th through the 12th, 2025, for a transformative 3-day live event that's more than just a conference. It's a community of investors. Get your pass by going to rubicon.com, REWBCON.com, and use the promo code MPI20 and get 20% off of your Rubicon Pass. Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you create financial freedom, afford anything you want in life by investing in real estate so you never have to worry about money again. And in today's show, I'm bringing on a fantastic real estate and land investing expert who shows us how we can invest in land, buy raw land, create passive income from it, and we talk about so much more about podcasting, about everything else in business so that you can learn how we do our business as well. All right, let's start the show. What's up? Super blessed as always to have you here with me on the show. Now, I absolutely love when I get to hang out with my friends. Now, you love hanging out with your friends too. Absolutely. If you get around people that you enjoy being around, it really like lights you up as well as you just really hopefully get ideas, you get encouraged. Well, recently I had a fantastic opportunity to hang out with a lot of my good friends. So I went to Podfest. It's a podcasting conference. You guys know I love podcasting. It's one of my favorite things to do. Now we have the Master Passive Income Podcast Network, where we have 6 shows now. And here's a great one. We are even going to be having Master Passive Income en Espanol. Like we're going to have a Spanish content. We're going to have a Spanish version of Master Passive Income. And I know what you might be thinking. You may be thinking this, like just take Dustin's voice and throw it through AI and have it spit out some Spanish speaking episodes. No, that's not what we're going to do. We are going to actually have a student of Master Passive Income. He's from Colombia. And he said, Dustin, I really want to help people. I've done a podcast before, and I really just want to help people just like you do. So we're going to have MPI Espanol, which is so fun. We have other shows coming. But here's another fun thing. In my time hanging out at Podfest, I reached out to my good friend, Seth Williams. Seth Williams has RE Tipster, the terrific website and podcast about land investing. I'm encouraging him to make his site more about all types of real estate instead of just land, which it has all types of real estate. But I'm like, man, Seth, you can grow this to be really, really big. We're helping a lot more people to invest in all types of asset classes. And so we went to Podfest. He's a podcaster. He actually has 2 podcasts, which we will talk about on the show, a children's podcast that my kids absolutely love, as well as a real estate investing podcast. But he and I, and a number of all the other hosts at Master Passive Income, we just jumped on podcasts and started talking to each other about how we invest, about life and how we do business and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, you know what? This is some fantastic stuff. Because I'll be completely honest. I listen to podcasts. I listen to other podcasts. And that's a big reason why I like podcasts too, is because I consume podcasts. I love it when I hear the person that I'm listening to normally, week in, week out, go back and listen to the things that they coach or teach or interview, but then hearing some things that they're also doing that I would not normally know. And I was talking to Seth. I said, hey, Seth, let's just let's just have a conversation. Think of like a Joe Rogan conversation where they just talk about everything. I said, let's do that. And it was fantastic. We had a fantastic time. We almost forgot that we were recording. And so this is kind of like a high level, I guess, conversation that I have with my friends that are other podcasters that are real estate investors. I mean, I don't know if we said this on the episode, but both he and I, it's like so much easier just to invest in real estate. Like rather than coaching people, putting on conferences, now having the monthly meetups at RubeCon, doing the social media, doing the podcast. It is so easy to invest in real estate. If I just went back to investing in real estate, my goodness, I would be so much further than I am now, because a lot of my time now goes to real estate, from real estate into the podcast, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it as a negative. I'm saying it as I love podcasting. That's why it's so much easier doing something else. I love podcasting. I love coaching, and I love helping people. And obviously my conference, the Real Estate Wealth Business Conference, no sales pitch, literally just here to help you connect with other people and be a better investor, because of my mission to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. And hopefully you are one of those people. In fact, let me think about it. Yeah. So a lot of my students, even like Juan, who's doing the Master Passive Income in Espanol, he literally listened to every single one of my episodes of Master Passive Income. We have 30. This is, I think, the 367th podcast episode. So he's binged that, as well as Roger Wesley is going to be taking over the Successfully Unemployed show for me underneath the Master Passive Income Podcast Network. And it is so amazing that Roger as well went through every single episode and listened from beginning all the way to end, because in the end, what I want is to coach people, to help people to invest in real estate, because this is what life's about. Now, if you've heard me, if this is your first episode, then I want you to hear this. But if you've heard me in the past, you know I've said this, that there's so many good things about real estate investing. I said this even at RubeCon. But when you think about real estate investing, we think about real estate investing being a property. We buy a property, we make cash flow, which is absolutely true. But what you need to realize is that real estate is not about properties. Business is not about a product, and life is not just about experiences. What it is about, though, real estate is about people. Hear that again. Real estate is about people. Business is about people, and life is about people. It's all about your relationships with the people around you, the people that you can work with, the people that you can help and change their lives for the better. I'll be completely honest and say, when I quit my job, I mean, I had plenty of money coming in. I had plenty of properties, and I was just playing golf, going to the gym and having a good time. And I just started feeling like I was not being productive. I was making plenty of money because I did all my work. Remember, we're Master Passive Income. When we buy one property, we master passive income, because that property is doing all the work for us. And that's why I have Master Passive Income. I want to show you how to master it by buying one property, and then you build a business and you just keep buying more properties and put it into your business as inventory. And so as I am going through with Master Passive Income, with the Real Estate Wealth Business Conference, I kid you not, it is a ton of work. And I bet you assume it's a lot of work putting on a conference, but it's also a big risk with the hotels. But in the end, my goodness, if I don't take a risk, if you don't take a risk, life doesn't change. If you do not buy that first property, well, let me take that back. Let me take one step big back. If you don't even make the decision that, man, life can get better if I do something differently, possibly by investing in real estate, buying a property that makes me passive income, or buying land that I can flip to sell for more, or have that be a note where somebody else is paying me over time. If I don't take that, maybe get another job, a risk of getting a job, or a risk of going to your boss and asking for a raise. If you don't put yourself out in you can call it a risk. I've been calling it that, but it's not necessarily a risk. You're taking a chance, or you're putting your effort forward. That's a better way to say it. You were saying, I'm going to take advantage of what's in front of me, not just waiting for things to come. Because if you wait for things to come, you know it, but I'm going to say it anyways. They never will. Opportunities only come to people who are hustling, the people who are working for what they want. If you're sitting still, your opportunity will never come. And so if you've been listening to the show, let's say you started binging the show and you're already back to 367, you start at the beginning and you listen to all of them and you still haven't built a business. You still haven't found a property manager. You still haven't started finding mortgage brokers, haven't even put in offers on properties, and you haven't bought a property. What's going on? Like, this is your wake up call. I mean, this is, well, I rarely ever talk about the, time of year, but if you're listening to this right now, as I'm releasing it, this is January 2025. You need to change your life because right now, realize, and I just got this question today. I was helping out at a mastermind, helping people, coaching them as well. And somebody was asking me, well, is now a good time to invest in real estate? I said, no, it's not. When is the best time or a good time or the best time to invest in real estate? It was 20 years ago. The next best time is literally today. So you need to change your life, take that risk, start investing. Don't just keep listening. Obviously, I love it that you listen to the show, but take action. Take action also. You will even be more of an action taker if you come to the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. Come and join me and 40 plus of my expert investing friends and hundreds of real estate investors at a no sales pitch conference. Literally, it's all about you. Go to rubcon.com. The link will be in the description. Rubcon, REWBCON.com. Use a promo code MPI podcast, and I will literally give you 20% off your pass. And I'm not really making any money on this because hotels are really expensive. I'll tell you this. 1 gallon of gasoline, $2.50 in Tennessee, where I'm at. California, maybe $5 a gallon. In a hotel, coffee per gallon is $125 a gallon, and you have 25% tax, or it's not tax, sorry. It's a gratuity that is automatically put on. So with tax, you're up $150 a gallon. So anyways, all that to say, you need to take a chance. You need to bet on yourself. No, life's only going to get better when you change what you are currently doing for the better. I kid you not. And if you don't do that, if you don't make that change, life will never change for the better. Now, I could keep going on, but I have a really good long episode. And I'm going to tell you straightforward, this episode is long. We recorded for a long time because we kind of forgot because we were just brainstorming and masterminding together. I really want you to listen to this because this is literally how I think, how we think. We're both Christ followers as well. So you might hear some of that in there as well. But also one other quick thing. The recording, my goodness, it was echoey, huge echo in the booth that we were recording. So I used AI to try to remove the echo. And so sometimes it's going to sound a little off. I apologize, hugely apologize. I hate that the audio is a little off, or you might like kind of cut out and stuff. You'll notice at some point like, oh, there's AI again. But this is a fantastic episode. I loved this conversation. Seth's a great guy. Like he's a good friend of mine. We help each other out a ton. And so I want you to see what it's like to have good friends that are in the business with you, even though we don't necessarily invest together, but we brainstorm together. We help each other out. We're just, encouraging each other. And that's what I want for you. And I got this by I met Seth at a conference. That's why you come to Rubcon. Rubcon is literally your place to meet people that can and will encourage you. And plus you'll hang out with me. And here's the thing. If you're an introvert and you're stuck on the wall and you're like, man, I don't know if I want to go, I'm not going to know anybody, you'll see me. I'm an extrovert. Grab me and say, hey, Dustin, I need to meet some people. I said, yes, let's go. I'm going to help you. I love doing it. One of my favorite things. So I'm super pumped to bring on my friend Seth Williams from RE Tipster Podcast, where we talk about everything under the sun of what we do in our businesses. And I want you to experience what it's like when you meet another real estate investor at an event, and you become friends, and you start encouraging each other, and then you create long friendships from that. All right, now here's the episode with my friend, Seth Williams.
So Dustin and I are hanging out at the PodFest conference in Orlando, 2025. It's a conference for podcasters. I've never been here.
You have 2 podcasts.
Yeah, I got 2 totally unrelated podcasts.
So you're a podcaster. Would you consider yourself a YouTuber or a podcaster? Or
both, maybe? Yeah, I mean, both. But I think the YouTube thing is what I've tried harder and spent more time on. So I don't know.
I mean,
But
I remember it was like 2 years ago, maybe even longer, maybe 3 years ago. I sent you a quick message. I'm like, dude, your YouTube is awesome. Like
yeah,
your videos are really good. But then it's like you have 2 podcasts now. You have one YouTube, 2 podcasts, and
man,
yeah,
it's interesting. Like once you develop the skill set and just the knowledge base of how to do it, like it becomes exponentially easier to do it again, even if it's totally unrelated. It's just like, hey, like I can do that. The average person can't or won't do it.
just like buying your first house, buying your first piece of land. Once you do it, like you've proven to yourself that it's possible, and you're not scared. Maybe you're gonna be scared, but you're not gonna be as scared as that first time, like hitting record for the first time on the podcast, or setting the first to something, or setting your first direct mail. It's scary and nervous, but just like riding a bike, you get used to it.
I know. Yeah, it's like it would almost be a shame if you didn't do it again because like it took you so much work to get first base. Like why not keep going to the next one?
Well, and so I think, and we were literally just talking about this because we were like, how should we take this conversation? Well, I know that my listeners for my podcast, the Master Passive Income podcast, yours is Ari Tips, your podcast, you have Storyline podcast. You coach people how to invest in land. I coach people how to invest single family homes. Start thinking, how are we going to take this conversation? Because we think of our audience, where are they going to want to hear? Well, most people, I won't say most people, literally, this is what we've learned at Podfest, or I've learned multiple times. People come for the content, like they find the content, but they also stay for the host. They stay, they want to keep listening to the host. And this is amazing. So I put on an event for my community, and I bring my friends like you and other investors who come speak. We have more people coming to see you at events, and you and I even a bit at conferences. That other land investors, they're like, "Hey, I'm here, and I'll be here for like an hour at this one, I don't know, restaurant or something. You want to come hang out? People fly just to hang out with you for like 30 minutes.
Crazy, man. It's amazing. But yeah, it's crazy. It's yeah, it's awesome.
Well, let me ask you, like those people that do that, are they obviously they're land investors, or they're investors that want to connect with you? Do they? Have you noticed? Do some of them, or most of them, come from the podcast? Most of them come to YouTube. They found you on YouTube. They found you on podcast, or maybe a combination.
Yeah, I think it's a smattering. It's a little bit of everything. Yeah, and I almost wonder because a lot of times when these things happen, we come together. Like, I only spend like a few minutes talking to each person, but I see them all talking to each other. I almost feel like that's where the real value is. It's not me. It's like, look, there's this community of other people doing the same thing. So yeah, it's really cool. They probably find me from all kinds of different places.
So the Storyland podcast, my kids love it. They really, really love it. They keep waiting. Even my kid, well, we're homeschooled, so, and also I don't let my kids consume lots and lots of media, and so when they listen to the podcast, they're still kind of young at heart too, because we don't let them just watch and consume anything. And so when the new Storyland episode comes out, they're all excited.
Yeah, thank you for you're like one of the early adopters. When I first started talking about it, you just totally dove in. It was awesome to hear that your kids were liking it. And yeah, it's a ton of fun. It's kind of weird because I can just make this stuff up. Like there's kind of an endless supply if I have time to just make up stories. And it's cool to see that people like it.
I can't do that. I literally do not have the creativity to create something. Now, if I forced myself to sit down and do it, I probably could. But man, it does not come easy.
On that note of all these different things that we do, I've got multiple different endeavors. You got the same thing. When I think of you, I think of Master Passive Income, Successfully Unemployed, and each of those things have their own like YouTube and podcasts and stuff. You've got Rubicon, which is really turned into a big thing. You've got your rental properties, which is where it all started. What do you think? Which of those things is like the most impactful? Like if you were forced to only do one of them, like what would be the one that you'd say this is the most worthwhile of everything?
So the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference is terrific. We connect so many people. I've seen so many lives change from it, but it would not be here if it wasn't for this one other thing. Master Passive Income, all the coaching. We got 1,000 students now becoming successful investors, buying real estate, graduating like play Monopoly. That's great, but it would not be here if it wasn't for this one thing. And I know YouTube is not doing much for, I do get people coming and watching YouTube, but if it were one thing, it would have to be the podcast. And this is it's the Master Passive. Sorry, yes, specifically, right? Master Passive Income podcast. Number one, I put the most, I would say, passion into it, but it's what I really enjoy doing. But I also put passion into it, and I really try to help and educate people. And with the Master Passive Income podcast, it's literally 90% a solo show. You've been on the lead for I've a lot because they're friends. And it's like, hey, let's bring you on, see how you're doing. And so the podcast, because as I wrote a blog article, I would see the analytics a minute, maybe a minute and a half. Stay looking at stuff, and then they're gone. I do get some people that want to connect after that, but YouTube, let's say I make a 12-minute video, literally teaching if you want to X, Y, and Z, they might stay 5 minutes, 4.5, 5, maybe 6 minutes. I know you're probably better at it. You're really good at it. But the podcast, let's say 100% of the people start 30 minutes later, whenever the podcast episode's done, I absolutely have 80% of the people still listening to the episodes. And I'm like, man, it's 30 plus minutes or longer that I'm helping somebody that they're staying. So everything came well, let me back it up also one step. So RootCon definitely came from the podcast. The conference, the clubs that we have, the coaching that we have, but that all started with my real estate investing. Even the podcast, everything centers around my real estate investing and how I invest in real estate. And it kind of grows and adapts. I started with single family homes, bought enough properties where I didn't have to work anymore, started successfully unemployed, was a successful employed, started Master Passive Income podcast, Successful Employed podcast. But I realized that if I keep all of my work, time, effort focused around my investing, as I grow, let's say I grow into what I have grown into a multifamily, like commercial or real estate, then the content starts coming out, and then we start helping people in that regard. And so everything centers around my real estate investing because that's where I make money. Now, I do make money through coaching and stuff like that. And I asked my wife, say, hey, honey, we got plenty of money coming in, and should I coach people for free? And she said, no, you better not. If you're going to do it, don't do it. Just stay home and homeschool the kids with me. That's valid.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about coaching is I think a lot of people don't understand. It's actually kind of a costly thing for the coach when you consider the time they put into it, what their time is worth, and also how many years and what they had to go through to have the knowledge that they can then deliver through coaching. There's a lot that goes into it. I think a lot of people don't necessarily see that. They just see a big expensive price tag, and
Well, just like you go to, let's say you bring in somebody who does HVAC, heaters or air conditioning and stuff. You get somebody that does HVAC to come into your house to fix your HVAC. Well, you can't fix it because you don't have all the years doing it, the education, the experience, and history doing it. So you're not just paying for that hour coming in. You're paying for all the past history, just like a doctor. Hey, doctor, sews you up, but you cut yourself and you get stitches and stuff. You're not paying for that, those stitches specifically, as well as the hour or 30 minutes. You're paying for all of his extensive history and experience to get to that point to be able to take care of anything you need. And so that's what's interesting about coaching. I've literally spent my life doing this, and I've lost so much money doing it the wrong way. So it took me about 9 years, eventually, because financial independent. I probably lost 50, 60, 70, just thousands of dollars doing it the wrong way. I would gladly have given up that $50,000, $60,000, paid somebody that would help me, that would make my 9 years turn into 3 or 4 or 5. Short time. It's fast tracking.
And I want to pause for a quick second and share that, honestly, I really want you to invest in real estate. Now, my new goal is to help 1 million people invest in real estate. So 2 things I would ask from you. Number 1, if you get anything out of this episode, please share it with somebody else. Number 2, I want to get you to invest in real estate. Get my real estate investing course absolutely for free. Text the word rental, RENTAL, to 33777. Rental to 33777. I'll literally give you my course, show you how to find an area of the country to invest, how to build the business first. I always talk about that, and how to find the right properties, how to make sure you're getting experts to do the work for you, and scale the business to where you're making $250 or more in passive income. Scale it up to quit your job. I'll literally get to you, or go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. But I really, really want you to invest in real estate, because the more that actual normal everyday people own real estate that are good landlords, the better everybody's life gets.
And so that's something that's interesting for me is my students, like it took me 9 years, cost me a lot of money. The School of Hard Knocks costs a lot of money, but my students are doing it in like 3 and 4 and 5 years because we fast tracked it. Just like your students, I know some of your students, I'm like, wow, that person's doing really, really good because they had somebody help them to get that leg out.
Yeah, totally, man. So you've got not just the Master Passive Income podcast, but like a whole network of podcasts, which has been kind of a big, kind of an aha moment for me. I just never thought about that, about having several related podcasts all under one roof. What are all the podcasts now?
Yeah. So honestly, it was out of necessity. So I'll answer your question, but I'll get to the reason why it's out of necessity. So there's Breakthrough Investor, Charles and William, my students who are coaches. I was like, you need a podcast because people need to learn from you too. We have the Passive Income Life with Zach Zimmer. He is just like me in investor status, meaning we just make our money through real estate. And he's teaching advanced investing, like note investing, like all that sort of stuff. We have Real Escape, kind of playing words, Real Escape podcast, Real Escape Investing podcast. That's Terry Shower. She's up in Canada. So if I have any Canadian students, I send her up there or send them up to her, and vice versa. She sends people down here. We also have YouTube Passive Income, because it's like I have a good friend that teaches passive income on YouTube, and he's great and he wants to be a part of it. Let's do it. Then we're also creating the Master Passive Income Espanol, because there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people, and I have a student who's doing so well and wants to be a part of it. But it came out of necessity, and what it really was, I knew that people wanted to learn other things other than single-family homes. Maybe they want to learn Airbnb. Maybe they wanted to learn, apartment complexes, whatever it might be. And I personally did not want to coach those things. I didn't want to talk about those. I don't want to talk about multifamily because I don't feel like I'm an expert. I have a couple of them, but at the same time, they're better people. We also have one more, the MPI Multifamily podcast, where it's all about commercial real estate investing. And it was out of necessity because I had so many people wanting to learn more, but I'm limited and I don't want to teach that stuff. So I just grabbed people that said, hey, I want to be doing what you're doing. I want to help people. And I said, hey, here's what we could do. And that's how it started, out of necessity, because people wanted it. I wasn't going to do it, so let's bring other people in, because now they're the experts too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think Ari Tipster's easily poised to do this. In fact, we were chatting about it, that Ari Tipster's a lot about land. But I mean, I think people obviously they go there for land. There's so much more in there that's not just land. And I think the only thing that's needed for you is to have some other people around you. It's kind of like with me, like you stayed at the Airbnb, 7 of us. So staying there, you see how it is, and you get the right people. That's just, you just want to hang out with. These are good people. And then more than likely, well, let me ask you, do you think that there's somebody, one person inside of your audience now that you either students or audience that may have something to offer? That
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, I've already plotted out 4 different podcasts we could create. They just kind of go down different angles. They have to do, I mean, maybe they have to do with land investing, maybe not, but I know there's definitely interest in our audience about these things. So it's like one of the first things on my list when I get back is to start exploring that, talking to those people and say, hey, do you think you'd like to do this about this topic? And some of these people I have in mind, I'm almost positive they would say yes. Others, I'm not totally sure, but it's just a great idea, though, to leverage the existing audience and a lot of the expertise that I don't necessarily have. I have some, but they're way smarter than I am. So why not let them bigger voice?
And somebody listening to this might be thinking, well, what would they have to gain? Are they going to get paid? What do they have to gain? But I kid you not, just by being around you, they're going to have so much to gain just because, hey, William, Seth, this is where I'm going. You might help me out. Oh, yeah, we're friends. Of course, I'm going to help you out. Yeah, that's what I do with all my people. But at the same time, having an awesome podcast elevates the next fast. Like my podcast, Master Passive Income, I have an audience, and my audience is given basically to all the other podcasts. It's like with everybody else. And that elevates that trust up tremendously because they now have their own audience. But if it came from me, they didn't have to build it up or ground up. And now they're looked at as a better investor. Now the network grows. And so, honestly, like, if you were to ask me, hey, Dustin, would you want to do that? Maybe I'd be a that would elevate me even more. And so anybody, like, let's say somebody's listening to this and they think, you know what, I might have something to offer. Man, you get so much in return by being around people that are doing it.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I am curious with the rental property investing stuff. I know you started this many years ago now. The market was different. The world was different. Like me, you've just been doing this for a decade plus. How has that changed? Like when you think about people getting into it right now versus the way it was when you started, like, is it harder? Is it easier? Is it just different? How is it different?
It's just the numbers are different. It's the same, I guess, what do you say, level of ease or hardness? It's the same. It's really a simple process. It's simple. Like, it's easy, but it's simple. It's not complex. And the numbers are just different. Prices are higher. Interest rates are different or higher. You need to work a little harder to find a good area that has good price to rent ratios. You hopefully buy the house for a little lower, rent it for more. You make passive income, make cash flow every single month. And so what I've seen in the changing is people that want to be an investor, they feel like they're out of the market because prices are too high, interest rates are too high, and all that sort of stuff. Well, it was very easy back in 2012, 2010, 2012, like when it was really just stumble on a house and make money. But when you're at, I think it seems like the top of the market, it's much harder. So you have to do investor type stuff. You got to get on wholesalers' phone lists. They're going to call you, hey, I have a property. You want to buy it? You have to do direct mail. I know you land. You guys do lots of direct mail, which my people can learn from that. We don't do direct mail because, well, I would say that. Very rarely do we direct mail because we have wholesalers. They're the ones that do all the work. Most people, even I did, I had a job. I didn't have the ability to just constantly be talking to sellers and sellers. If it's wholesaler, and if you don't know what a wholesaler is, somebody who finds a seller and then they find a buyer and they put them together and they make money, kind of like a realtor, but without a license. Well, if a wholesaler came to me and said, hey, Dustin, I have this property equity. Would you want to buy it? I'll look at it. I don't care if they make $5, $10, $15, $20,000. I don't care if the property I buy makes me money in cash flow and I'm not overpaying. Let's say this, give you an example. Let's say a going rate for a certain property is $150,000. Well, if they get it for $60,000 and they mark it up $20,000 and I'm paying $80,000 and I fix it up for another $20,000, I'm in $100,000, but it's worth $150,000. Like, I don't care. You did a great job. You got the price low. You're getting paid for what you're watching. So the only thing that's changed is the numbers, but the ease of doing it, the simplicity has not changed. It's harder to find because there are more people that are investing and people that don't know how to invest or invest in it, sadly enough. They listen to this TikTok and Instagram gurus. I could buy an Airbnb for $800,000, a full-time salary by renting it out. Like, sadly, you're going to get hurt. One quick last thing I'll say is somebody's going to the Airbnb route. It's totally great, but just realize is how saturated everything is. Phoenix has literally, I want to say it was like 80,000 all of Arizona, 80,000 Airbnb or short-term listings in Arizona. So if you're thinking, I'm going to buy an Airbnb in Arizona, I'm going to get it, it's saturated. So those are the number one things that I've seen. But one quick last thing, people might say interest rates are so high. My goodness, that's really hard. No, it's not, because I don't pay my interest. I don't pay my taxes. I don't pay my mortgage. I don't pay for repairs. I don't pay for my property manager. Like, I don't have to get a job to do that. My tenants pay for it. So I have the rent. I make sure my expenses are lower than that. That's my cash flow, the difference, before I buy the property. And then when I buy it, I make sure those expenses are paid for. It comes in rents and I pay it out to everybody else.
Yeah, just talking to Zach Zimmer, he was talking about the rent-to-own strategy. Do you ever do that?
I have probably about 7 properties that are rent-to-own. And a big reason why I did that was this is in Youngstown, Arizona, and Youngstown, Ohio. And I would not recommend anybody invest in Youngstown, Ohio. I would not say, hey, yes, this is great. This is where I first bought, because I had no clue what I was doing, very economically depressed. homes at the time, I was buying homes for like $12,000 back in 2010. Now they're worth 50, 60,000, which is great, good appreciation, but I still make cash flow. So I do the rent to own on properties that I don't want to own in 10 years. Just like Mobley, you trade up and eventually get to better properties. And so now those properties that are, let's say cash flowing $500 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever it might be, if doing rent to own, it's great that I don't have any expenses. Because I tell the new, hopefully owners, but the tenants, I say, they think of me like the bank. I'm just the bank. This is your property. If the furnace goes, that's your responsibility. Roof goes out, is your responsibility. Electricity, everything is your responsibility. You want to paint it, just let me know. You're not going to be painting it purple or pink or something like that. So because it's my property still. But the rent to own strategy is terrific because you have no expenses, but you have all the income. And if it's properties you don't want to own in 10 years or however long, 15 or whatever you turn it, then you can put that money into something else and you have huge cash flow.
Yeah. It sounds like with the rent to own route, like even though they have the ability to own it, like most of the time they don't end up owning it. It's like it's kind of a small percentage that actually makes it to that point. I don't know, it's just pretty fascinating talking about it. By the way, listeners, if you haven't heard that, I'll include a link to Zach's interview beneath this here. But it just got me thinking a lot more about maybe I should do something like that. I mean, I'm not really looking for rentals at this point, but the whole rent to own path, the fact that the property management load is a lot lighter because that potential owner or the tenant, it's kind of up to them to take care of it all,
Yeah. So I, on those properties, I don't have a property manager. Like, I think I'm using apartments.com, was Cozy, now apartments.com. But I would probably use a company like Turbo Tenant and just collection of the rents, also renting tenants. Those working out really, really well. But yeah, I love not having expenses. That's a really big deal, not having expenses. No, you don't have a property in however long the term. But yeah, ongoing, you don't have any ongoing maintenance, pay for a property manager, all that sort of stuff. And you have somebody, here's one quick last thing too. If, like Youngstown, it's very economically depressed, well, if everybody's a renter and nobody cares about the neighborhood, so neighborhood's going down, if people own, they actually have pride of ownership and they want to take care of the property. Does that make sense?
You were talking a little bit about Turbo Tenant. What do you think is the like the best, not the best, but what property management software do you use these days? I know I hear about them all the time. I get them reaching out to me, wanting to promote them, which is funny because I don't really talk much about rental properties anymore. But like, what do you think is the best one out there right now?
The one that I've seen that I like the most, because there's like quite a few, I only bring up the other ones, but Turbo 10 has been pretty good. They've been pretty good. They've been growing and building out their system, and they have a leasing tool. So if you're going to be doing your own property management, which is what Turbo Tenant would be for, it creates, and it's like a wizard that you walk through, answer questions, and it creates a lease, an actual lease for you. And then you just click a button and it emails to them. I think DocuSigns, I'm pretty sure DocuSigns it and sends it back to you. So simple. And they have lawyers that have every single state created a lease for that state. Wow.
Yeah, that is nice. They handle tenant screening, rent collection, all that stuff?
Yes. Yeah, and the tenant screening, I mean, it's really, they do a background check on the tenant. They also check for evictions, all that sort of credit. But in the end, it's all on one screen, which is really good. They're also got the accounting type software too. They've been really, really good. I've seen them put effort. Like apartments.com, they don't put any effort behind their property management. It's like basically a dead thing.
That's basically what Cozy used to be, right? Apartments? Yeah, it is amazing though. I don't know why any landlord or rental owner these days would not be using something like that. Like the software out there, there's so many options that make it so much easier than it used to be with all the rent collection stuff. And
the only thing that I would say that a reason why I don't use it on all my properties is because I hired property managers and they have Buildium or software, property management software that they take care of everything. Because I don't want to property manage. I really, really don't. I love not working. I love passive income. That's why I have passive income, was because I want to do other things and manage my properties. And when I buy the property, I don't buy it unless the property manager I've already vetted and said, hey, would you manage this? How much will it rent for it? What's the clientele like? All that sort of stuff. they say, no, I won't manage it, then you don't buy it. You don't waste your money because it might be in a bad area. In fact, some people have said, yeah, I tried to find a property manager and they said they wouldn't manage it because they'll get shot in that area. Then I'm glad you didn't. You would have a liability of an asset. And so that's for me is like first I try to get a property manager. I'm sorry. I focus on getting a property manager. But if one turns into a rent to own, or I owned it for a long time and I can manage it myself because my house in Phoenix, I had that as a midterm rental. That's where you rent it for 30, 60, 90 days. Long traveling executives, you make a lot more money than long term. Give you an example, $2,100, I could rent my long-term property, but I'm getting $3,500. But you got to remember, you get more expenses, electricity is in your name, Wi-Fi or internet's in your name, things like that. So I'm probably making about $600, maybe to $800 more by doing the midterm. And I don't have to worry about short term, which is at least is changing over. But anyway, so I have that one property, midterm rental. And then with that, I bought a new house to live in. That is paying my mortgage on this next one, which is great because that's blessed to have was free and clear. But that's what I love about real estate is you can trade up. The Phoenix one is paying for my one in Tennessee, right there. We're going to buy a new house and move into that one. And that Tennessee house is short-term property. It was already rented short-term. That's going to pay for my new house. So it's a boom, boom, boom. And then keep doing that over and over again. This is one of many strategies.
Yeah, interesting. How much time does it take you to run your rental property business each week or month?
I would say it's probably about 30 minutes a month. Yeah.
So that's just like what, checking financials to see what happened, if there's any.
Make sure the check got in my bank account. Like, okay, you got the check. Look at the statement, see if there's anything going on. Because even though you try your best to find a really good property manager, because they're your you're a quarterback. If you don't have a good quarterback on your team, it's going to be bad. So my best property managers I keep, and the bad ones I get rid of, and I find a new good one. But then you just look and make sure that they're doing everything you want them to do, but just by looking at the statements. That's literally all you need to do. Did rent come in? How are the expenses? And then put it away and go back to doing other things. That's honestly how I was able to build Master Income, RubeCon, the rest of What's Those Conference, all that sort of stuff. And podcast, talk to people like you and make new friends because I didn't have to focus on my business. Zach, on the other hand, is the one thing I'm trying to help him. So definitely everybody should go back and listen to Zach's episode. He's been investing for a long time, just like me. But at the same time, I was trying to help him. I said, you know what? You have your rent loans, you manage those yourself. He says, well, 3/4 of the year, I don't do much. But what about that 1/4 of the year? You're doing a lot. Like you have an active, getting tenants, getting new people in, all that sort of stuff. Why don't you hire somebody, a property manager, to make sure it gets done? Well, let's say 40 properties. I'm going to be out $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year. I can make that myself. But if you think about it, to scale, your time is the limiting factor. You don't have enough time to get to 80 or 100. If you got to 100, you don't have the time personally to get there. So you're going to be stuck 60, however, and then you're going to be busy all year long. How much better would it be take that 60 grand, bake it already into your expenses because I'm going to pay for this before I buy it, and then you hire an entire employee. 60 grand, so he lives in Akron. $60,000 a year for somebody who lives in Akron is really good money. And that's great money. And you can have a full-time employee the entire year doing work for you, and then you can continue to scale your business.
Yeah, interesting. What do you think is your unfair advantage when you think of all the stuff you've done, the success you've had with rentals and RubeCon and Master Passive Income? And can you think of anything that like you're really good at that the average person isn't? And sometimes I think it's really hard to even identify because to you it seems normal because it's you. But can you discern or think of anything like I've done really well because I'm good at this?
Let me ask you that in a reverse way. Do you perceive anything? Can you think of anything that I have? Because I can see what you have. That when I'm like, oh, I don't have that. I know that's good. But do you see anything in me?
Oh, yeah, totally. I think you're a really strong leader. You're really good at leading with confidence. You're a really good networker for sure. Like just the fact that like I get texts from you, not all the time, but like, once a month or something like that. And I'm one of how many hundreds of people like you just don't hesitate to reach out to people for help. And in doing that, you're also letting them know like, hey, I'm here to help you too. Like I don't even think to do that kind of stuff. Like I'm much more prone to working in a silo, which is not really that healthy. And you also think big. You don't let little things and doubts hold you back. Like you just kind of almost assume it can be done until you're told otherwise. Like all these things combine to make a heck of a superpower. So yeah, and there's probably more, but that's just off the top of my head.
Oh, man, I thank you. That was fantastic. That made me feel very encouraging. And then for you, what I'm seeing is that how diligent you are. Like I'm pretty diligent, but you were above and beyond. And then seeing like the detail, and it's not just detail because I'm pretty detail oriented, but like the preciseness, the quality of like the YouTube videos, and you're teaching people like you get right to the point, you cut out things that don't need to be there, all that sort of stuff. But you're so focused, and that's something that is right. Look at what you build, like right tips, like you say, no, I'm going to get this done. This is going to be the best quality. Would you consider yourself a perfectionist?
You know, maybe in some respects. I mean, more so than the average person, I think. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it is. I guess I look at it like a lot of the videos that I make, I try to make them evergreen in nature. Like, I don't want what I'm saying today to be irrelevant in 12 months. Sometimes you can't get around that. That's just how it is, depending on the subject matter. But when I'm making stuff that's evergreen, I think to myself, okay, this video is going to be watched by thousands of people for years into the future. When I think about it that way, it's like every little dumb thing I said in there that doesn't need to be there, it's now multiplied by thousands of times. All these people are having to listen to me drone on about stuff that doesn't matter. So I go maybe even too far sometimes, where I really try to like just make a super lean delivery. It doesn't always work, but that's just sort of the mindset I go into it with.
That's great. So let me take that in a same direction, but ask in a different way. So thousands of people, it's going to be out there. Like once it's on the internet and it never gets deleted, it's always there. What are you going to do that's going to help you and Nora to have your level of success in, let's say, life too, but like business? You have real estate investing. You also have architecture, and yeah. What are your thoughts with that? I'll give you quickly what I've been doing while you're thinking about how you're going to do that, or you are doing it. My goal was to help each one of my kids before they turn 17, so 1 to 16, to buy their first rental property. Now, getting a loan is going to be really, really hard. So obviously, it helps. It's a benefit that their dad is there, but I'm coaching them. They're going through the exact same thing that all my students go through. The course, they're learning all that sort of stuff. They do have their own savings. Like Ellie just bought her first property, and it should cash flow about $250 a month, which is for a kid, that's great. And she has saved $30,000, which this isn't for a down payment. He has a business. I'm going to do things I can to help. But I said, hey, Ellie, this is true for all my kids. 5 kids now. We're very blessed to have 5 amazing kids. Because all the money that you make in passive income, we can't spend it. That's the one criteria, or whatever term that I had is you can't spend that money because if you're smart and you do what I tell you, you keep that money in there, we save it, and you make other money outside, and then we buy another property. Let's say we buy one property a year at minimum. You're 16 now. By the time you're 26, you're going to have 10 properties, making you a minimum of like $5,000 a month. Do you have the fortitude and the delayed gratification, self-control? And she said yes, and like, okay, we'll do that. So every single one of my kids are going to be doing it. Loaded question, because I gave you what I'm doing. But yeah, have you thought about how you're going to help Luke and Nora to become successful?
That's a great question. I feel like I have not thought about it enough, and I think my excuse is that they're still pretty young. They're like 8 and 10 years old. But I mean, it's probably a perfect time to start getting.
You're gonna blink, and they're gonna be
totally. I already feel like I've blinked, and they were like babies yesterday. Here they are now.
Well, we've been listening to your kids for a couple of years now. As they've grown, or my kids, they feel like they know it.
I think part of it is I pay a lot of attention to like the strengths that I perceive them both having, and they're both fairly different. Like Nora, she's very creative, kind of a social butterfly, and just a ton of fun to be around. Luke is very like detail oriented. Like he would probably make a great accountant, for example. So like very different kinds of strengths. So in terms of like trying to steer them both down a career path, I don't know. Like I don't I don't want to say like you need to do land or you need to do self-storage. You have to rent our like I don't know what they're gonna love, but I think more generally speaking, so Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter years ago wrote this book, Rich Kid, Smart Kid. And I don't hear about it a lot, but I listened to it a couple of years ago. There were a lot of big takeaways I got from it. And one of them was that as parents, we need to be really careful about controlling our children's perceptions about how smart they are because the school system judges them on a very narrow criteria. And it's very academic. And it is. If they like do bad on a test, it's like, okay, the message has been done.
Yes, exactly.
And that's all down. And it's like, no. Like, everyone is a genius at something. Just because you don't measure up to that standard does not mean you're going to be very successful at something else in life. And but just you see them struggle at anything in school, and I haven't seen them struggle much yet. But if that does happen, just helping them understand, like, this is not the end of the story. Like, there's so many other things to life, and this is not the way to perceive yourself through that one narrow lens. But I think just in general, like, the basics of financial literacy and just like rich dad, poor dad type stuff, like the asset column, the liability column, stuff that's not taught in school at all. Like making sure at a very least they get that. Understand, like, if you want to be wealthy, like spend your life buying assets. Like don't throw it at things that lose money. Just that kind of essential stuff. And I think as they get older, that's when I'll probably start looking a lot closer at like,
What age is that?
want to go down the rental property path? Let's get into that.
What age would that be though? Because you got to plan down. Because they're
Totally agree. I would say, I feel like 14 is when you're right on the cusp of being an adult. 2 years from then, you've got your license.
well, 100 years ago, people were getting married at 14.
Yeah. So what do you think is a good age? Like 12, 14?
So obviously, teaching them principles very, very early. In fact, I would suggest, if you don't mind me making suggestions,
yeah, go for it.
have them play the rich dad, poor dad cash flow game. Cash flow for kids did start, and after about a dozen times, my kids were kind of bored with it because they was like they know how to do it now. I'm like, one person would be thinking, well, they've learned how to game it. I'm like, that's what life is, or that's what business is. It's like it's honestly it's a game. You just have to figure out how to play it well, and as soon as you figure that out, it's going to be fine. Finances, you just got to figure out how to do it right. And so they successfully did it. Now they play cash flow, the actual cash flow, which takes time. And they're like, as soon as so they're playing the game of life. It's a different board game. If you get the doctor, you're like, I'm a doctor, I make a lot of money. In cash flow, they would pull the doctor. Because income high expense. Most people spend the money, Denny. And so he said, Dad, can we just take out doctor as being I said, everybody hates it. He said, well, yes, because go right ahead. She guys says, I want you to say be like small would be you can never start too soon with small principles of saving money, being charitable, giving, having responsibilities, and then rich dad, poor dad, kids cash flow is really helpful because it leads the income column, expense column. But also one quick thing that I also do, ever since my kids are born, every bit of money that they get, we teach them financially like principles. Half of it goes into savings, like 50%. So they get $10 a month goes into the baby too. And they don't touch that for like maybe buying a car, buying a house, like it's 10 years, 15 years from now. And then 20% goes to mommy to pay for her responsibilities. Hey, don't just get money. You have responsibility to pay for, food, electricity, and that sort of stuff. And then 10% goes to charity, or goes to giving. If you want to give it to church, give it to God, however you want to do it. And then the other 20% they get to spend. And so that teaches them at the very, very young age. And I know now that it's worked so well that my kids they'll have, let's say, it's $50 to spend. They'll go to Walmart and they look at the toy and they'll be like, oh, this is like not necessarily garbage, but how much they're wanting me to spend, it's going to break really quickly. It's not worth it. And they put it. My son says to me, Dad, I'm mad at you. You and Mom taught us too good. We don't want to buy anything because we can fall upon wasting money. I'm like, praise the Lord.
Yeah. Do you think like if you could steer your kids, like each one of them individually down a certain career path or real estate investment path or whatever, like, would you do that? Or is there an element of like, I'm going to teach you the basics and then you need to figure out for yourself what's going to work best for you?
So I'm going to say this was going to make some people irritated or upset, but how I see with my kids, nobody cares about my kids better or more than me. Nobody loves them more than me. Nobody has the same morality that I want them to have. And so that's why we homeschool. We homeschool our kids. And then when my kids are learning how to play the piano, they're actually getting pretty good. But I heard, I would hear people say, well, hey, Billy, little Billy, like they're another family. Do you like playing the piano? No, I don't really like it. Okay, you don't have to do it anymore. No, I don't believe that. I say, you were playing the piano. Of course, they want to go play Xbox or fighting, whatever, Switch or whatever. They want to play video games, be on the internet. No, you are going to do this. This is what mommy and daddy is telling you to do. And so getting them so they have to push through something that's hard, number one. But number two, thinking about real estate or making money or whatever it might be, I give them the principles. Like right now, they see if they buy one rental property that makes them $250 a month, that's $3,000 a year. And at 16-year-old, that's not bad to not work. And so what I am doing is if they don't want to learn, you're still going to learn. It's part of our homeschool curriculum. Just like you're still going to learn history at public school. You're still going to learn. No. This is your curriculum. This is what you're going to learn. You're going to learn financial education. You're going to learn how to invest in real estate. And then if you, in the future, choose to not do it, that's on you. But this is a curriculum that you have to go through. And then one quick last thing was in pushing them in a direction, like my boys, I'm helping them to learn that learning a trade, electrician, plumber, something like that, is going to be so amazing for you. You're not going to be spending $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 going to college or university. They're going to pay you to learn how to become an electrician, and they're going to make so much more money, and nobody else is doing that. Both people are retiring, trying to get rid of businesses because they don't have anybody taking it over. It's such a great path. So that's how I view my teaching them how to invest in real estate. But rental properties, by far, helping them get their first one. And if they don't want it anymore, or if they don't want to continue, that's on them.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I know in your personal career path, so you used to work, it's like a government job, kind of a desk job, white collar thing. During that, you started to buy rental properties and eventually stopped. I forget. You get laid off?
Yeah. After our fourth child, I get back to work after paternity leave for like 2 weeks, staying home. On a Friday, I get a call back. It's like, my goodness, you just had a fourth child, you leave me off? So, yes.
Yeah. So, like, knowing how it worked for you, like that career path of going to college, getting that kind of job, getting rental properties, here you are today. What if you had been told back then, no, let's do trades instead? Like, do you think that would have been the right decision for you? Like, do you ever wish I shouldn't have gone to college? I should not have gotten that white collar job. I should have become an electrician instead because that would have been better because of, I don't know. What do you think?
I would absolutely say, well, I had two different paths because my dad was a contractor. So I actually did framing. Framing builds the entire house, but they make the least amount of money. It's the electricians. More dangerous, plumbing. They make a lot more money. But my dad was a contractor, and he did not encourage me to say, keep going in the trade because it's eat up your body, especially if you're a framer. He wasn't an electrician. He wasn't a plumber. He wasn't somebody that was more like HVAC, like technical. And so he didn't encourage me. Knowing now, realizing that, man, it makes so much more money if you are an electrician or a plumber. You can even have your own business and set your own hours, and your ceiling is, building a business. I would much rather done that than I was taught by my parents, get a career, work at the government. You're never going to get fired. Go little safe path. But then I learned the hard way, safe is not true. There's no such thing as safe. In fact, I got laid off after I had our fourth child. So in the end, it's not that safe. So if I were to have gotten, I don't know if I would have listened, but me teaching my kids, I'm like, you know what? This is the path that I wish I would have gone. So yes, so I guess in the end, it's something that I wish would have happened to me, and then helping my boys to understand. Also the girls, my wife teaching them how to be good moms, how to cook, how to take care of the kids and all that sort of stuff, manage the household. And so the boys up providing and the girls staying home. And that's like my wife's stay-at-home mom, so she would love to see our kids be stay-at-home moms as well.
So to be clear, so you wish you would have not gone to college and you would have been an electrician?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, no, let me take that back. You can never, at least I don't think anybody could or should say, I wish this didn't happen because my life would have been different. I'm here because of the path that I took. And I'm blessed to be able to next share with my kids because I've learned, like, I do have some business skills. I got a business college degree. I've applied some of those, but in the end, I'm looking back now. I was like, would I have gone into real estate? I might not have, like, buying real estate. I might have just kept building an electrician business. I don't know. But right now, I'm blessed that this is where I'm at, but grateful for everything I went through because that made me who I am.
Well, I'm asking because I know, like, I had a very similar career path to you. Went to college, worked in not a government job, but very similar kind of environment. But that was part of what enabled me to do what I ended up doing and getting into land, starting RE Tipster, any of where I am today. If I had become an electrician, which is a very hands-on, active job, or out in the field, all that, you can't just you can take a break, get on the computer, and write a blog post kind of thing. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing now. So I don't know. It's weird. Like, makes me wonder if maybe there's opportunity in any direction you go, or if it's there's an actual benefit to doing the college path, even though the career, the 9-to-5 job, that's not really what you're going for. It just sort of carves out a path that lets you use it as a stepping stone to get something further. I don't know, but
I think in the end, whatever path somebody takes, as long as they have the desire and I guess determination too. Because somebody might go to college and never invest in real estate, never invest in land, never do any of that stuff. And I say, man, you're missing out. But there are plenty of people like that. So everybody has different paths. And if they want to invest in real estate, they need to get around people that are doing it. Like they need to continue to listen to RE Tipster or my podcast, Master Passive Income. They need to continue being around people, going to meetups, reading blog posts. If that's your goal, then you need to put time and effort towards it. Yeah. Well, I like also, Schwarzenegger has a really good saying. So somebody would say, I'll have very similar to these, but about lifting weights. But, if you want success and you're thinking, well, I have a job, I have a wife and kids, I have X, Y, and Z, I'm not going to be able to spend the time to learn how to, invest in land or buy real estate. I don't have the time to do it. Arnold Schwarzenegger's answer is, well, sleep faster. That's all you got to do. Sleep faster. Because we all have 24 hours in a day. We all have different situations, scenarios, issues, problems, whatever it might be. But we also have different benefits or quote unquote privilege, but things that are beneficial to us that we can utilize to help us. Because if you focus on the negative, I don't have, well, Seth did this. He had this sit down job that he could do X, Y, and Z and send us. If you focus on what you don't have, then you're going to keep not having. If you focus on what you do have and say, how can I then change this to benefit me and make this be my strength? You're going to figure it out.
Yeah, it's a great point, man, because everybody does have something. It's just a matter of understanding, because we were talking about earlier, your super strengths and my super strengths, we all have these things, but it takes the discernment to figure out what are those things. And now that I know them, how do I leverage those? Because the average person doesn't have that.
Absolutely. And well, let's say for Master Passive Income, I know we do not have the quality control, the focus, the diligence, even though I have those things, but I am more big picture. And so lots of things that aren't as 100%, but I'm it's good enough. Let's get it out there. Where you hear no, good enough is not good enough. So it has to be right. Yeah. And my wife is 100% same way. She's no, it's just not perfect. I don't want to do it, or we shouldn't do it. And it helps. It's a balance. We're both Christ followers, and we know that the body of believers, we all have different gifts. And for somebody to say, it's easy that most people have heard that introverts are kind of, maybe not, but it seems like introverts can be envious at extroverts because they look like they're having fun. But I be honest, say extroverts also have big problems too. Just things happen, just like introverts have negatives, extroverts have negatives. And so what I found is that if you're introvert or extrovert, you need to lean into whatever it is, not just like extrovert always being out with every single person, or introvert always being inside and not being like my brothers. Like you guys are very, very similar. He's a definite introvert. He loves working on his business. Like I asked you, what's your favorite thing to do? I like doing my business. I was like, wow, this thing. And so, but we need to have, like, we all have different gifts. What if we lean on our gifts and make those strengths, as opposed to, well, I don't have, then you're going to, by leaning into the strengths, you're going to make those be super strengths.
Yeah, man, for sure. Cool. Well, you got any big takeaways? Oh, things all messed up.
Oh, I did this puzzle. What's
Any place else you want to take this, or?
Yeah. No, so. Oh, I'll just go ahead. Start.
Yeah.
So, what would you think is like Ari Tipster? Like, I genuinely want to know. I think Ari Tipster is poised to just grow. I mean, let's say take over bigger pockets or something. Like, I see it can grow. But honestly, the limitation is you, just like me. The limitation is me. Everybody's limitation to themselves. We people around us. But like, what would you be if you had? I don't know if you have it, but like, if you can make it right now, 5-year vision. Where would you like to see Ari Tipster in 5 years?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like I'm actually having a lot of light bulb moments here at this conference we're at, but I think I definitely have to do a better job of leveraging other people, which is like, it's not that I haven't done that, but I think maybe I need to find, selectively pick the right people, get the vision, and they just don't need as much oversight because they're just doing it right in the first place. And I think I just struggle at looking at the world through that lens. Like, I'm not even looking for it, but like, it's totally there. I can think of like, at least 5 or 6 people off the top of my head right now that I would be great to work with. So I think it's just understanding, like, you're limiting yourself, Seth, by just making everything kind of pass through you. Like, there's only so far you can ever get with that. So, and I am doing some of this, but I think there's a ton of room to do a lot more of that. So, in terms of a 5-year vision, it would probably be, leveraging other people. And frankly, like, I've never been great at 5-year visions. For me, it's more like 6 months. Like, where's this going to be then? And part of that, I think, is somewhat useful because the world and the internet changes so much in 5 years. Like, it's almost pointless to think of what the world's going to look like 5 years from now. But, yeah, I think it would be leveraging the strengths of other people to grow this far beyond myself.
Yeah. And I found too that if you focus not on either money, like dollar amount, that's reach this money, or the amount of money, or this, let's say we need to start a new podcast and that's the goal. Well, you're missing out on both of those. You're missing out on what's the real reason why we do it is the people. If we miss out on who we're trying to reach, or what we're trying to reach, like the audience or whatever, then we miss out on the bigger purpose. Because if you miss the people, then there's no point in doing it. So what I love to do is I'm all good at 5-year plans. Oh, in 5 years, I want to have this. Honestly, I didn't even know I wanted a conference. I kind of thought, it'd be cool to have a real estate investor conference that I would want to go to. Most of them are sales pitch and run to the back. I hate those, so I created the rest of those conferences because it's the opposite of that. We're also community, helping people. Kind of like FinCom, where you and I met. I didn't even, that wasn't even on the radar, but it came up and I'm like, I like that idea. Let me talk to a few friends who have conferences, see if I can pull it off. And then I talked to even more people. You were literally the first person I called and say, hey, this is you. And you said, yeah, I'll be there. I said, give me the green light, let me move forward. No, they honestly don't have ever. But in the meantime, every single thing that I try to do, like I want to write a new book. So I have 4 books. I want to write a new book, but the book's going to be about mindset. So from 0 to, let's say 100 properties, I have all that content, the books, I have podcasts, and that stuff for that. But from nothing to ready to get to 0, I don't have that like mindset. Like you're stuck, and you don't even know what's out there. Like limiting beliefs to having a abundance mindset versus a what's the other abundance scarcity mindset. Yeah, have something that helps people get out of themselves. And so I was like, I want to write that, but it just came up. It's not like the 5 years I want to have this next thing. But with that, when something does come up, like 6 months from now, you know what? I can do that. One quick, let me put some effort towards, or no, let me devote myself, get it done. But here's another thought too. Goes to the idea that a project, whatever, let's say a project, writing a book, it's going to take as much time that you give it to take. Meaning, if I want to write a book and I say, okay, I want to launch it by June of 2026, well, it's going to take that entire time because that's how much time I give it. But if I say I want to launch it by June of 2025, which is only 5 months away from now, June of 2025, it's going to take that much time. I'm going to have to, move a little faster and work a little harder or not, but it takes that time. And so if you say, okay, 5 years I want to be here, well, why don't you start working on that now? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
And so with Very Tipster, getting more people around you, more people that are going to, well, you asked me the question, it was, what happens if somebody does something wrong on a podcast that's with you? What do? You remember what my answer was? Like they say something wrong, or they say it in a different way. I don't know. I'll figure out when I get there. Just like when it does happen. Well, number one, I don't bring people around me that I don't like being around. Like if I don't like them, it's just like, no, it's probably me. There's other people you could work with, other people I wouldn't. So that's number one. Number two, people that I could trust. Like one, I could trust because I've seen them. And number three, they have a similar vision or the same vision direction that we want to go. Number four, they're not driven by money. Number five, they have a similar type of morality as well. So those are main things that but at the same time, let's say there's a hiccup and something's bad happened. Well, we'll figure it out then. And you also asked me, well, if somebody's like goes off and does the exact same thing, like, well, I make my money through real estate. So it's not like, somebody starts their own master passive income. I'm going to say, hey, how can I help you? So I guess this is the abundance mindset, because if you have a limited mindset and scarcity mindset, then you feel like the pie is so small, you have to fight for it. Well, if you only focus on the small pie, you may be missing a bigger pie that is out there for you. Like let's say, RE Tipster, you focus on land investing. Well, that's a small pie. Admittedly, you know it's a small pie. Rental properties is it's bigger than land, but it's still a small pie compared to short-term properties, apartment complexes, storage facilities. So much more. So instead of fighting over the little pie, let's make your pie bigger, where it encompasses many more things, and you had other people to be a part of it.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense to me. Feel that. It's awesome. Well, any other big initiatives you're working on right now? Like anything people ought to know about?
Yeah.
I know RubeCon's coming up, but I don't know. Anything you want people to check out?
RubeCon is definitely on the top of my mind because April is so we're 3 months away.
By the way, this is REWBCON.com.
Yes. REWBCON. So like RubeCon, Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, all agree. But yeah, so with that, I've had people that come to RubeCon. It's a 3-day, once a year event, live in person. And I had lots of people say, do you have monthly meetups where I live? I always say no. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't have that. But also because I have so many people wanting to be around everything you're doing, they are now starting, or it's a part of our company, the Real Estate Wealth Builders Club. So these clubs are actually monthly meetups that are bringing investors together in those cities. So they come to RubeCon, and at RubeCon, they're like, man, I've connected with these people. I want to meet with people monthly. Like, because you go, if you're a church, you go to a Christian camp, or you go to an event, you get on a high. Tony Robbins, you get on a high. You get home and life starts getting in the way. Well, what we want Root Club to be is obviously you're going to have the high, but let's keep you going. Let's not let you stop and let life get in the way. So Root Club, it's actually kind of fun. REWBCLUB, rootclub.com, same thing. But it's just another way to amplify the message that anybody can invest in real estate. And my main goal is to help 1 million people to invest. And so it's just, yeah. How about you?
Well, on the Rube Club thing, do you have certain people or moderators are hey, you're going to be the person in charge of leading this club meeting? Or do you just kind of have them get together and whatever, who knows what happens? Like, how do you organize that stuff?
I have to trust that stuff. Just like, being a host. It's a little less of a barrier to get in to become a Rube Club host. But I have to trust them. I have to see
So you do have actual host. Like you have a person say, okay, you are responsible for leading this.
100%. The host does it. They're somewhat usually connected, either a coaching student or came to RubeCon, and they see the value and the vision of it. And they see that the hosting is more than just, let's say, getting a paycheck, which they don't get paid. But it's not like a job. It's a benefit to hosting Roots Club because people are going to see you as a better investor.
Yeah, gotcha.
But yes, it's organized in a sense where we make sure people are networking. We bring speakers in. We make sure that we have hopefully some sponsors that are going to be good companies they could work with and connect them with each other. So yeah.
What? How many of these Rube clubs are there?
3. Yeah, we have Charlotte, Phoenix, and Colorado.
Okay. And these leaders that you choose, are they from your audience? I take it, or like, is it you handpick them or something, or how do you decide who they would be?
It's handpicked. We have some people that want to start one in LA, students of ours or audience members of ours. We'll eventually get there, but we don't want to grow too fast and have an in-group link. It's like there's expenses and there's logistics, and we're still investors. We're still investing in our stuff, and so we have just that many more things we try to pray. Lord willing, we're gonna have most major cities as best as we can in like 5 years. That'd be great. If there was a 5-year Rube Club in most major cities.
Awesome, man. It's a great idea. Yeah, I'm just thinking through what if there's a version of that for the land investing world? Because I could see, I don't know if there's enough of us, but I know in like the bigger metro areas, like there probably is that kind of thing. Even if it was just like 8 or 10 people, like that's enough to get enough people together.
How about you? Other than finding right people, do you have any? Do we want to lean into YouTube more? Because your podcast, you even get a lot of people listening to that. Anything that you're planning?
Yeah, so I've been partnering, or at least exploring partnerships with a lot of new people, which is something I've never really have done that much of. I've always been kind of gun shy about partnerships, but I've been realizing after finding the first great partner that I've ever worked with in the storage business and how well that's gone, it's opened my eyes to like, this is actually huge. Like if you can find a good partner where they carry their weight and they truly make it better, like they're so good, you'd have a hard time doing another thing without them. That's a major asset. And it just enables you to do things that you would normally never be able to do by yourself. So anyway, I've been exploring partnerships with that through different software companies and some things that are already established, like coming into an existing entity, and others where we're like forming a new thing. But that's probably been the biggest like initiatives I've been working on and will continue to work on in this coming year. Just seeing where those go. I think most of them will pan out. Not all of them probably will, but yeah, it's just been an exciting new thing that I've been doing.
That's so cool. And you're seeing that you are the limitation, just like me. There's only so much time in the day for you to do anything. And if you could multiply yourselves, then that'd be great. So, but it's getting the right people. One small little suggestion and idea is in any partnership, just figure out what the exit strategy is beforehand, like just in case. Hey, everything's going great right now. We're unhappy. Let's decide how do I buy you out? How do you buy me out? When there's
Yeah, that was actually, that exact issue has always been one of my biggest hangups, and we was able to figure it out really well with the self-storage facility. But that's probably the biggest component of all these things is like basically planning the divorce before the wedding.
Yeah.
Like if things go sideways, if we just have a change of plans, if people change, whatever, like how do we get out of this thing with the least possible damage so that we're all okay, and there's some kind of trigger we can pull up to get out if we have to.
Like with all my podcasts, so we have 7 podcasts now. If any one of the hosts say, "Man, I want to go on my own," I'm like, great, how can I help you? Let's and because I already made that in my mind, like that's my exit strategy is I'm just going to get again because I make my money through real estate, and this is just fun. And if they can help people, my goal is to help 1 million people. Well, if I help them to then they be a part of that helping million people, then that's part of my vision.
Would you just like shut those podcasts down then?
I don't know. More than likely, though, I would probably do the show play repeats or repeats, just re-upload the show. I would do that and then try to find another host that would want to host that show. It's still an asset. I own the podcast, but it's still an asset. But I'm going to help them as much as possible, even on the shows. Let them promote their new thing. I mean, absolutely. And I found, even though like a scarcity mindset would say, "Oh man, don't do any of that stuff," and just keep everything yourself. I found I get such a better return's not the right word, but like I benefit more by giving more. And then people that leave are it's like, man, that was so terrific. I want to not stay, but like I want to help. Like we're not competition. It's like I'm gonna cross promote. I'm gonna go back and give it back to you. It's like, and yeah, when you just only solely focus on yourself, honestly, it gets lonely. And I don't like that. I obviously, like I said, extrovert, but at the same time, I don't want anybody to ever have, look at me and say, man, that guy's a jerk. That's not what I want.
Sweet. Well, if people want to check out Dustin, masterpassiveincome.com?
Correct.
Or the podcast or podcast. Or just search real estate investing on Apple Podcasts and you'll see Dustin show up probably number one.
Then also Instagram too. I actually like Instagram. 35,000 followers now. And then it's just another touch point to connect with people. But the Dustin, THE, Dustin Heiner, and no, Seth, I'm not that arrogant being the only one, but it's the only handle I could. But yeah, so the Dustin Heiner on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok are the same thing. But yeah, it's just fun being able to connect with people on things like that. I hated social media until I really started understanding how powerful it is to connect with people. And I'm like, okay, so it can be a good thing.
It's interesting because I've got those things in my life too where it's like, I hate this, I hate that, I don't want anything. I wonder if that's maybe an unhealthy way to look at it because you're just saying no, you're just shutting it down, you're not exploring it any further. Maybe with like most things, it's like, I don't hate it. There's just something I don't understand about it yet.
Yes, good point. And then we got the RE Tips. Everybody should check out YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to RE Tips or YouTube channel, they need to. It's so much great information. Oh, and I love what 7 or 8 videos you did on the building of your self-storage. I mean, it's a documentary. You should sell it to Netflix. It's a documentary.
That was a ton of fun to make. It was one of those things. It wasn't the reason I did it, but it was maybe a small part of why I thought building one might be kind of fun. Is because I just knew there would be a ton of great stuff that I would learn, a ton of stuff to just talk about, and I was right. It was a great experience.
And I love the idea that you're documenting what you're doing. You're walking through the process. And I still remember you having the locks that didn't line up, so you had to drill and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was another. Yeah, it was funny. I didn't even learn this until after the fact. But the reason that was happening was because we built the slabs on a 1% incline because the whole lot was slightly slanted. You almost can't even see it with the naked eye, but there was a slight slant to it. So those doors that would go down, the latch on one end would be like literally lower or higher than the part of the other end. So just tons of random stuff to learn and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to make that.
And before we go, because we were talking last night at our Airbnb with 7 guys, super fun, but the question came up, like, if you need to make $1 million right now or this year, what would you do? And you said, well, when you really boil it down, well, I'd start calling up self-storage facilities all over the country and see which one would be seller financing. Can you explain that?
Yeah, for sure. And if you can actually do this with land too, it might have worked faster, honestly. Like if the goal was just to make $1 million, period. The reason I said self-storage is because that's sort of my ultimate destination, kind of where I want to go in the end. So, yeah, I mean, you basically just get a list of all the self-storage facilities, which I can get fairly easily in any part of the country. And
when you say easily, service or
so StoreTrack, STORTRACK is the service I use for this. It's actually amazing. They specialize in self-storage, and they can get you this information like way easier than if you're using DataTree or some other data service. But so yeah, I would just get their numbers and start calling them and just saying, hey, I see you have the storage facility. You have any interest in selling? Or
is it that straightforward?
I mean, it could be. You could also, can we role play?
But you could be that. and I'll be me, a storage facility owner, and I'm not expecting your call. Well, I'm real quick. The reason why I want to do this is because when my students are looking for property managers, they say things that are newbie things that property managers are like, oh, great, there's another newbie. They're not going to do anything. I'm not going to work with them, blah, blah, blah. And so what I tell them is, when you're looking for property managers, you don't sound like a newbie. You want to know what an investor sounds like? Well, I'm an investor. That's what I do. Hey, property manager, I'm an investor. I'm looking for a property manager to manage my properties in this area. Tell me about it. Straight, didn't validate myself. I didn't put any classifications or whatever. I just put them on the defensive. But that's what an investor would do. But I never bought a storage facility. I never done like direct calling. How would you do it?
Yeah, well,
Okay, let's
quick disclaimer. I've not actually done this.
Well, you've done it for land investing, so it's
But I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying this is the way to do it. It's just how I would do it. Like, and also this cold calling idea, it's very time consuming. But the reason I'd be doing it is because somebody has a gun to my head saying I need to make $1 million in the next year. So,
could you hire a VA in the Philippines? Hello.
you totally could. They wouldn't do as good of a job, but you could do that. Yeah. So, ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hello. Is this the owner of Heiner Self Storage?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Well, hey, my name is Seth. I'm looking at acquiring some storage facilities in your area. I'm an existing operator and I have one that I built. It's been going really well. I'm looking to expand. I saw you have this property. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Like, how long have you owned it? When and why did you buy it?
Yeah. So let's say I bought it 8 years ago, and no, I'm not necessarily interested in selling, but if the right deal comes along, then I probably would. This rents really well with 95% occupied and whatever else. But yeah, I mean, if it's a good deal, I might.
Sure. I'm curious, like, are you very plugged into the local self-storage world? Like, do you know other facility owners who might be interested in selling? Or
Oh, I know that because we talk and, you kind of randomly meet somebody because not many people do their storage facilities. Yeah, I know a couple people.
Yeah. Well, I'd be happy to get together at some time, talk more, just talk shop about the storage facility business. If you ever are interested in selling, like, just know I'm in the market right now. I don't know if I will be a month from now, but like right now, I'm ready to go. Happy to take a look at your thing, run some numbers. I don't know how much you're willing to share with me in terms of your occupancy or how much revenue you're making, but that's part of what would go into my ability to formulate a good offer for you. Yeah, I mean, if you're at all interested in seeing what I could do, I could send you an offer today if you want. But even if not, I mean, if you want to just hang on my information, I could stay in touch with you and check in every now and then. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. You never know what's going to happen.
And whenever we would hang up, if the answer was no, I don't want to sell, and this happens all the time. Just talked to somebody 2 weeks ago who they wanted way more than it was worth, wasn't going to happen. But at that point, the next step would be sending them a little handwritten letter every 6 months or so, something just to follow up, just kind of keep them in your mind or keep you in their mind, so that when they finally have a reality check and realize it's not going to sell for the price they want, they remember you and call you first.
That's awesome. Because that's something, as we were talking, the question came to me, what would I do to make $1 million in a year? My answer was, I have other investors with me that would want to invest in a larger commercial property, whatever, apartment complex, storage facilities, like commercial. And I have two particular people in mind that would be general partners with me on two separate deals. And man, I was like, I would love to be in the self-storage business. I just don't have a deal. We have the money. We have everything. We just need a deal. I thought, why am I not doing this? Obviously, I have all my other businesses. But I'm like, if I can help other investors to invest money, get a property for our family, why don't I do that? So that got me thinking, I need to do that. Yes. So I'm not making a 100% commitment because with RoopCon, the conference and everything, it's a lot of work, but it's on my radar. It's like, I would love to get a self-storage facility. And even like my, one of the person I told you about last night that would be a general partner, we were going to buy a place like 12 million cash. I was like, yeah, I don't know if we need financing for it. Just pay cash for it. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. But yes, why don't I do that? That's the great thing about being in a conference or being around people. We get ideas and we help each other. And that's why everybody listening, you definitely need to be at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. It's such a genuine community of people that want to help each other. And you get questions like that. And you're like, man, really is like light bulb moments, and you get friends. Like we met at FinCon, another conference. I've met lots of people at conferences because in my immediately like circle of friends or people at where I live, none of them invest in real estate. So you got to get around people that invest in real estate. That's what the conferences are, or local meetups. Like you need to go to be around the people that you need to be around.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm just going to throw in a quick plug here for the Storyland podcast, just because it has nothing to do with anything we've been talking about. But so if you have kids age 4 through 12, maybe even older, have them check out the Storyland podcast. It's a podcast I started making for my kids years ago. Started adding music and sound effects to it. I made a few episodes with Dustin's kids as the main characters. And it's a ton of fun. And I'm quite sure your kids or the kids you know are going to love it. If they don't love it, then just don't tell me. But if they do love it, let me know.
Yeah, follow them on Instagram. Storyland Pod.
Yeah, Storyland Podcast, I think is what it is.
But then you'll see when the new episode drops. But my kids absolutely love it. Like my oldest is 16, and she's a little getting almost to where she's like, okay, I'll just listen. But definitely like the 15, 13, 11-year-old, they eat it up. Oh, new episodes. And there was a time you were putting out for a little bit, like a month or two, you might have been busy. My kids say, call your friend, tell him I'm the sus. Oh, I'm sure he's going to work on it.
Yeah, man, that's the trouble with all this stuff. Like finding time to look for storage facilities and land and finding time to do stories. It's like all this stuff takes time, and there's only so much time I have in a week to do it all. But I guess that's the time discipline thing, you know?
Well, that and getting other people around you. Yeah. Other people around that too help lift the load. Yeah. And like one quick last thing with getting people around you. Whenever I've hired anybody that said, put Indeed or, found someone at Craigslist, they're never a good fit because they just want a job, which is fine. Which is fine. But if you have a community like you do, I guarantee you say, hey, I'm looking for somebody that does marketing. Here's a form to fill out. If you're interested, I guarantee you're going to get a lot of people. Like if you even say, I need somebody to help editing, you're going to find lots and lots of people. So we're blessed to have a good community of people around us that's an untapped market of help for us.
Yeah, it's a great idea, man. I kind of knew that, but for some reason, like I haven't always done that in the past. So it's like that should easily be the starting point every time. So it's a good reminder.
In the intro of the podcast, I'm going to have to tell everybody, we almost stopped like 4 times. So just keep listening because I could talk forever. Just keep going and going. But Seth, it's been great chatting with you. Great hanging out with you again at a conference and event, staying at the same Airbnb and having a great time.
Yeah, man, I had a great time. Thanks for letting me be part of it. And yeah.
And that is it for today. Go ahead and get my free real estate investing course. Text the word rental to 33777. RENTAL to 33777. You can also join my Real Estate Wealth Builders group coaching. Get all my courses. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next show. See ya.